It's the Bayeux Tapestry or Bayeux embroidery, piece number 59. It is embroidery on linen, and when you see it in person, it's quite amazing. It is 20 inches high, this piece of linen, but it's 230 feet long. It has 70 different scenes in it, and the context of it is that in England, King Edward, here in gray, was dying and did die, and he left the throne um, open. He inferred before he died that he wanted his brother-in-law Harold to have the throne. He didn't. King Edward did not have any children. So what happened was there was ended up being some battling for the throne. It looks like King Harold, or Harold is the eminent next one to assume the throne, and he ended up being crowned as king. But there's still debate at the time about, gosh, who should be king? Should he have been the king? And a guy over here in France, in the area known as Normandy, who was Edward's cousin, so blood related, said, hey, I'm meant to be the king. So this is William the Conqueror in Normandy, who is now decided he's going to go over to England and he's going to fight Harold for that throne. So I just said that. Here is William the Conqueror, and he gets all of his kind of lords underneath him to send him troops, and he masses them, crosses the English Channel, and here at Hastings they fought on October 14th, which is amazing because today is October 14th that I'm filming this. In 1066, though, they fought and William the Conqueror won. He defeated Harold, and he ended up, he and his descendants, controlling England for 100 years. So let's look at these two images that were taken from the Bayeux embroidery. They're organized with a main scene, you can see that, and then above the main scene there is a border, and below the main scene there is a border. The borders, sometimes they can be related to what's happening in the main scene, but here down here is an example of a border. It's about farmers in England, and they're just planting their crops, plowing the fields. No, they're just planting. So the Bayeux embroidery is really invaluable because it tells us about life in England in 1066. So, for example, here is a comet that's embroidered onto the tapestry. It's Halley's comet that came by Earth in 1066, and it came by in the 1980s. This is a picture from the 1980s. So a super bright comet that would have been noticeable at the time. So this, one of our two images here, is the content of it is, it's the first meal, and we have servants over here preparing a meal, and at this table, which hopefully reminds you of the table in the fresco at the Catacomb of Priscilla, at this table we have this person, Bishop Odo, who is William's half brother, who is blessing the meal. More content, we have these kind of this poising and this gesturing that tells us, you know, what people's positions are and how important are they. So first, Bishop Odo is bigger than everybody else, and we know that hierarchical scale is used to show people's importance. And then we know that this guy here below the table, look at his action. He's a servant serving. And then this guy, look at his action. He's got a hand. So we think that he is a maybe he's a messenger, but he's clearly talking to Bishop Odo. And if there's any doubt about what's happening in these scenes, there are captions called titulus from Latin, which is where we get the word title. And so these are little, here's the one caption that says, "Here they have a meal." And this one says, "Here the bishop blesses the food and drink." In addition to captions that kind of direct our understanding of the Bayeux embroidery, is in between each of the 75 scenes, there are these really funky trees. So we know, oh, there's a start of a new scene. Another way the artist helps convey their meaning is by using negative space. Um, the more space between two people you have, the more the position or gestures exchanges show up. And in this case, this is a messenger for William the Conqueror that is delivering a message, pointing and saying something. In this second scene, it's the battle scene. We see the Normans, led by William the Conqueror, attacking the British or the English who are on foot. And you can see in the bottom border that it's probably the English here who are being killed, decapitated, falling down. More content, or this is kind of almost context too. The Normans, William the Conqueror's Normans from France, he brought over with him these Norman knights who fought from the backs of their horses. The English, they fought on foot. They arrived at the battle scene on their horses, but they liked to get off their horses and they stood real close next to one another and they held up their shields and they used their shields to kind of make a wall. And so they are featured here standing on foot while the Normans are featured on horseback. And then this isn't one of our two pieces, but it shows us here Harold being killed. And underneath, it seems like there are people tearing apart Harold's body, kind of strewing it all about the place. He was never actually found after the battle, so we think that his body parts were actually torn up. There's not a lot of recorded information about this battle. So this Bayeux embroidery is important, but there's some of it that isn't quite 100% confirmed. Okay, so the function then of this Bayeux embroidery is that it commemorates the win of William the Conqueror from Normandy, France, over Harold from England. And this guy who we see at the dinner is William the Conqueror's half-brother, Bishop Odo. And we think that he had this commissioned. It was embroidered probably by women. And we think that he had it hanging in his cathedral that was being built in Bayeux in France. And so this tapestry probably hung there, and that's where it gets its name from. Now, of course, the tapestry also gives us a whole bunch of information about life at the time, items that were used at the time, lifestyle. So it's a really rich historical piece.